I'm curious to know if you coach your players the way Barca plays. I mean, to have that kind of mindset.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to be boastful and say, yeah, they play like Barcelona. One of the teams that I left at home 2 years ago, under 13s. I've never been a coach that's big on results. I think if you're going to get results, it's a byproduct of making the best players and allowing them to make their own decisions and to be their own personalities when they play. And my team at under 13s were very much like Barcelona in the sense that all the other teams were big, tall, strong, physical, and our team was very, very small. I mean, I'm only 5'4" myself, so when I say to the players it's about determination and decision making and wanting to get on the ball, and they see me playing at a decent standard, they think to themselves, we must be right. For the whole season, it was beautiful to watch. The whole season, they won 3 trophies, they made a cup final and lost on penalties, and everything was because every game they passed the ball and they kept it. I remember we done one game on a pass count, and every player had to remember how many times he received the ball and passed it, and I think we counted up that the boys made 400 passes in a 70-minute game, which was incredible under 13s.
You kept count?
Yeah, we asked some of the parents to take a tally of how many times their boy touched the ball and then moved it. And I think it was just over 400 or just under 400. Can't remember, it was 2 or 3 years ago, but we asked the players to play in a certain style, not give them any real instruction, just pass the ball to the nearest man in space. And then if you can't go forward, go sideways. If you can't go sideways, go back. Start again from the goal. Keep the ball and see how it goes.
It's kind of a simple game, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not chess. You know? It's not like you have to... Basically, you have to get the ball from one goal to the other. And that's it. And you have to avoid the opponents in the way. And if you pass it to somebody who's got somebody 3 yards away from them, if your first touch is good enough, 3 yards is enough. If somebody's got somebody on their back, then they alter the body position and protect the ball when they receive it. And I think coaches have got to allow young players to have faith in not only themselves, but in the guy that they pass the ball to. Because if you don't have faith in the guy that you're passing the ball to, why are you giving it to him? Are you expecting him to lose it? I think as coaches and as players, especially in my teams, I would just give the players the ball and ask them, go and play the game properly, keep the ball on the floor, move into space, and if you see a box of 4 players, try and stand in between the 4 of them, because somebody's going to come out of position to leave a space. And I think the way I coach my team is in that style, but not like Barcelona, because I think it's very, very, very hard to ask young players to say play like Barcelona, because Real Madrid can't do it, Arsenal can't do it, so how can we expect kids of 12, 13, 14 years old to do it? You can play the same style, but not like it, because it's unreasonable.
Right, and what I mean by when I emphasize play like Barcelona, what I mean is some type of possession game and some type of game where people are using their teammates in intelligent ways as opposed to just playing kickball. You know, that's what I mean. And it sounds like that's what you're teaching them. You're teaching them to think, but use each other as a team.
Yeah, like if you watch Barcelona, there's a lot of times where, we'll say Messi for example, has a man on his left shoulder, and he receives the ball from, say, Xavi. Xavi's in front of him to his right. Messi won't turn, he won't do anything. He'll get it and he'll lay it off and he'll block the man from then going to pass to press Xavi. So Xavi's just used Messi, the wall, to then make the next pass, and it's blocked the opponent. So yeah, it's a very clever way of playing the game. You can't run away from somebody. You don't want them to press, so free ball them. In a clever way, not a cynical way, like blocking at corners and anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's great. Is there anything you want to add that I haven't asked that you think is important, especially as it relates to Busquets and the book?
For coaching young players?
Yeah.
I think it is very important to allow young players to make mistakes and to have a rationale of why they've made a certain decision, and to not jump down their throat, because okay, it might be wrong, but you know, everybody's wrong in everyday life. If a player's going to make a pass, and it's a bad pass, you freeze it, you ask him why he's made that pass. Maybe he hasn't used his peripheral vision to his right hand side. If he maybe has a look, maybe a quarter of a second earlier, does he see a teammate? Maybe. But he's made the decision based on the information he's given, and sometimes you see coaches say, no, that's the bad pass. Well, no, that's not the bad pass, that's just the only one that he's seen available. And I think we've got to make sure that if we're going to speak to young players, we've got to use positive words rather than don't lose the ball in the negative, that sort of thing. So when we're coaching young players, I think it's very important to allow them to make their own decisions, find out the rationale behind it, and then maybe try and alter something technical or mental to it, like scanning the play or using the right foot, the correct foot and the correct surface when striking the ball, that sort of thing.
And I'm curious, what in the book, what's your favorite sequence in terms of when you broke down what Busquets did? Was there something in particular that you said, oh, that's really interesting, or I'm glad he did that because I can illustrate this?
I think the one where Real Madrid actually have the ball in Barcelona, you know, they're famous for their 5-second frenzy where everybody presses the ball everywhere until they win it back. Sometimes they don't win it back, and there's one sequence where you see Barcelona in shape, defensively all behind the ball, and Busquets kind of shows the pass to Contrao. Contrao tries to run with it, and Busquets puts in this inch-perfect tackle. But at the same time as he's tackled, he's lifted his eyes and he's scanned inside, and just at the right second he's found the pass 15 yards inside to Xavi on his own. They've got round the other side of Real Madrid because Busquets has showed a pass to Contrao, and then won the tackle, and then instead of just making a rash decision, he scanned the play very early, lifted his eyes, made his eye contact with Xavi, and then made the pass. But the pass is also a very difficult one, and it's accurate. And I like that sequence because it's very simple, but it's difficult to teach using peripheral vision and early decision making.
This is very true. Well, Stevie, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate you sharing all your knowledge with us, and I hope a lot of people end up reading your book because it's really well done. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.